Now you've had a lot of highlights in your career, and you've just touched on maybe a couple of frustrating times. But I'll quickly go through some of the highlights, just
Yeah.
as if you haven't if you've forgotten. So you're the national record holder for indoors and outdoors in New Zealand,
Yeah.
with 22.9
Hmm.
meters. That's the fifth best throw of all time, which is amazing of all time in history of throwers. Commonwealth Games, silver in 2014, a gold in 2018, World Indoor Champs, a bronze in 2014, gold in 2016 and 18, World Champs, gold in 2017, bronze in 2019, Olympic Games, the bronze in 2016, and two Diamond League titles. Now,
Three Diamond League titles.
well, there we go. Research wrong.
Yeah,
You're
well,
meant,
partly my fault. I was meant to clear that up,
yeah,
wasn't I?
you were, but that's
I
you've just
kind of
embarrassed
skimmed
me
over.
on my. I pride myself on the research, and then there we
Yeah,
go. No,
yeah,
so three. So apologies.
yeah.
Three
That's
Diamond
okay.
League titles. Is there is the highlight one of those, or is there something that I have missed that is the highlight of your career?
Uh, no, I think probably the highlight was 2017 World Champs in London. I
Mm,
was very lucky to have my girlfriend there, Dana, my parents there too, and my first coach
mm,
there too, which was awesome. And the whole thing was a little bit surreal because I tore my adductor the day before,
yeah.
which for those who understand any type of rotational movement, an adductor is quite important.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a 7 centimeter tear in it that I found out actually after the competition. So I had to actually go through qualifying first to get into the top 12. And then, so what happens in athletics is they usually set a distance for qualifying, and they take the top 12 guys. So if eight guys get over it, then they take the next best four to make up the top 12.
Mm,
And then you go to the final, which is usually a day later, and then that happens again. So I really went into qualifying not knowing if I was even going to actually throw, because I tore it last session, before the qualifying round, and heavily strapped up, heavily drugged up
yeah.
to mate, with painkillers, and I managed to first throw I threw was incredibly sore, in the warm ups, and I was like,
Mm,
"There's no way I can do this." And so the first round, I was like, "Well, I'm just going to go as hard as I can and see what happens."
mm,
And I managed to throw a season best, um,
wow.
and get through qualifying on the first throw, and then I had another. Actually, I think it was 2 days between, so I had another 2 days to kind of rest up and get ready, and that's kind of where a lot of the stuff that I've done with John Quinn came in handy, because
Mm,
I could have wasted so much energy worrying about, whether my adductor was getting better or what I'd done, and I tried to make a conscious effort of not worrying about it, because I couldn't really affect it. I couldn't change it dramatically.
mm,
But injuries are affected by how stressed you are. It's and in terms of healing, the more stressed you are, the slower you heal, and so forth.
mm,
So I tried to make a conscious effort to actually be very relaxed, very mindful, and not worry too much about my adductor. And then I managed to lead the competition from the first round to the last round, and win my first world outdoor title,
wow.
with, again, as I said, my girlfriend Dana, my parents there, and also my first coach and my coach too. And it was just it was a surreal feeling,
Yeah.
and it was something pretty special to stand on the top of that dais and hear that national anthem, and really prove everyone truly wrong that I could do it and could do it all.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
you said at the start about the fires that lit you with the competition with Jacko, you know the just people doubting you, listening to the external noises. You know, I saw a photo the other day. You're shorter than all the other top guys in the world,
not
although you
all of them.
claimed
Come on, not all of them.
not all of them. But there was this shot. There was this one photo I saw. I mean, hold on, he's actually a little bit smaller. So a lot of doubters, and then suddenly you're on the top of this podium. Not
Mm.
suddenly, because you're a lot of hard work, but you're at the top of this podium, and does those fires still burn in the stomach where you're like, I'm not done yet? Or is it when you came off that podium and a few weeks later, was it what was the feeling of, all right, I've done it. I've achieved my one of my,
Mhm.
top goals. What's the fight? What was the feeling after a couple of weeks once it just kind of dies down? Was the
Yeah.
motivation still high as ever?
I think because of my adductor kind of thing, I was meant to have a few competitions afterwards and did, but I wasn't really there mentally because my adductor still wasn't the greatest, and I was
Mm,
kind of just checking in and checking out. But that was, that is what it was, and I was pretty open about that. And but therefore, after that, after I had a break mentally, got recovered mentally and physically, and came back into training, the fire is still there. There's a bunch of things that I want to do that I haven't done yet.
mm,
And one of them is an Olympic gold,
mm.
and not just one, mate. Why don't we make it two or three?
Yeah,
Uh,
please.
and the same with world champs and things like that. It's there's still a lot of things I want to achieve. I want to throw further. The world record has been around since the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
It needs cleaned up, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, excuse the pun.
Uh,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's a few things that I want to do personally, and enough. The thing that hasn't changed over the 6 or 7 years of me being a professional is that I am a competitive bugger, and
Mm,
whether it is football warm up game or shooting hoops or throwing shot, I want to win it,
yeah.
and competing against the best guys in the world on the Diamond League circuit, on the World Champs circuit, um, is what I do it for, and that's what really gets me going still. But also, there's also a lot of internal motivators now rather than external, as we touched on.
Yeah.
There's personal goals that I want to achieve in terms of just nailing that perfect throw, that
Mm,
feeling. It's like a drug. It's like when you bowl the perfect ball. It's like,
mm.
how do I get that again?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and it used to be about proving people wrong, but now it is about internal, about how can I personally get better, not only as a thrower but as a person, and how can I also help people around me get better too.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's probably the process that you go through in a career is that a lot of the early 20 stuff is it's me, 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 me. All right, how am I going to do this? Me, me, me. And you get a little bit older, a little bit more experience, and you start to see the bigger picture, and you've been around the block for a bit, and and that service element as well, especially how can I help people, and the extrinsic motivation probably dies down a little bit, and the
Yeah.
intrinsic motivation starts to rise up, and you start to just the money, the fame,
Mm.
all those other things. They're not the motivators as you get a
No.
little bit older, which is
Yeah.
which is awesome.